Welcome to Bigger Than the Game with Deremy and Jose. I'm Deremy Dove, and I'm joined by a special guest today. This is his third time on the podcast, so I'm glad that he's been able to join me again. And this is someone who has so much wrestling knowledge. I like to joke around that he was a former writer for WWE. He knows the McMahons personally. He's good friends with Vince. Vince is like a father figure to him. All that good stuff. So, with the big sale for WWE, WrestleMania just happened. There's no one else I wanted to talk to than my man Tim Lewis. Tim, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Thank you for that warm introduction, as always. I got to do the thing every time I come on the show. I know I got the Austin 316 shirt on right now, but it doesn't matter what kind of shirt I got on because finally, the Tim has come back to Bigger Than the Game podcast with my man Danny.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it. So, there's so much to talk about in the world of pro wrestling right now. What we're going to start with, because we have the two big things for WWE. That's WrestleMania 39 just happened, the big sale to Endeavor. So we're going to start with a WrestleMania recap, Tim. And I know you and I were texting during the 2-night event. And I guess the first question I should ask is, they've been doing it for a few years. How do you feel about WrestleMania being a 2-night event?
Well, to be honest, when they first did it, I mean, obviously they had to do it because of the pandemic. So that's the only reason why. And it still turned out to be successful, but I wasn't really sure how to feel about it because, just growing up, for so many years, WrestleMania just being one night. And mainly it would just be like 3 to 4 hours or so like that. But, in recent years, it's kind of dragged on, it's with the pre-show and then the actual main show. It's like almost an 8-hour event now. So I can understand, why they transitioned to 2 nights. So I guess it works out for everybody. Plus, you're able to get more talent on the roster, on the card. So I mean, I guess it works out for everybody. So.
Yeah, I kind of felt like it was needed. I remember, I think probably that WrestleMania where Seth Rollins came in doing Brock and Roman. I think they were out in like San Fran or something like that year, and it was just like, because I love the WrestleMania. You get the pregame party, you get with people. It's like the only time like you get an event like that, which is like the Super Bowl or NBA playoff game or March Madness. And I remember, all right, pregame party at someone's house at 6:00. I don't leave till like 1 a.m. and I'm like, this is too long here. We got to change this up.
Yeah.
We got to change it up. So I'm definitely appreciative that it's become a 2-night event for everything you said, but also just because I'm getting older, man. I need some sleep, so I gotta go to bed.
Hey, I hear you. Same here. I remember that WrestleMania too. Like we literally saw that WrestleMania. It was like it went from day to night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how long that WrestleMania was. But they were on West Coast time, so it makes sense for over there.
But it was brutal. But we had so many big matches that happened this past WrestleMania.
Yeah.
What stood out to you for WrestleMania 39? Like pros and cons. What did you like about it?
Well, let me see. It was a lot of it was. Let me be honest. So it was some filler in there. What I'm saying, not so many great matches, but there was also some really good matches too on that card on both nights. Really the matches stood out to me. Obviously, the triple threat match for the Intercontinental title, Gunther, McIntyre, Sheamus. What I'm saying, just as Sheamus would say, banger at the banger.
Mm-hmm.
That it really delivered. I feel like that was the best match that entire weekend. For both nights. Also, Bianca Belair versus Asuka, that was a really good match. I feel like one of the more slept on feuds hidden in Mania as well, because everybody was focused. They was talking about Charlotte and Rhea and everything, but I feel like Bianca and Asuka had a really good build quietly. It wasn't a whole lot of talking, not a whole lot of promos, just like more so mind games and stuff. So I really like that, and the match delivered. And you can kind of argue who should have went over between Asuka and Bianca, but I actually like, Bianca kind of like quietly building up this undefeated streak at WrestleMania, and establishing her legacy. So I'm curious to see what they do with her next year and who her next opponent will be. Another match, obviously, is Dominic versus Rey Mysterio, father versus son. We finally got the big payoff. It was like 6 months in the making. Well, actually, if you've been watching for a long time, actually 18 years in the making. Back from the time when Ray was fighting Eddie for the custody of Dominic in that ladder match
Right.
Slam. So just to see that, come to fruition and to culminate at WrestleMania, it was a big, like, I lost it when Ray took off his belt and started whipping Dom. So,
It was a good one. It
yeah,
was a good one. I liked it. I liked it.
yeah. And also,
Yeah. What were some cons for you?
um, I felt like Cena and Theory's match, it was decent, but it could have been much better. You know what I'm saying? And also the chemistry was kind of off between the two of them. So I don't know if it was like miscommunication or something, but it just seemed like I don't know what was going on there, but it just seemed like it could have been much better. Um, the 6-woman tag match, Trish, Lita, and Becky and Damage Control, it is what it is, but that could have been better as well. Um, Brock and Omos, a little bit better than I expected. Omos looked great. Brock, he really sold for Omos, made Omos look a
He
million.
did.
And Brock we know Brock doesn't sell for everybody, what I'm saying, especially for the big guys, but he really made Omos look good. But that match, it was what it was, wasn't like spectacular or nothing. And this another con, which wasn't a match, but more so just like bad booking, like Bobby Lashley, for instance. He was in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal the night before WrestleMania on SmackDown. Not on Mania, on SmackDown. He won, which is good. I mean, at least they gave him something because, he was supposed to originally fight Bray Wyatt, but Bray was sidelined due to like an illness or injury or something like that. Um, so it's unfortunate, Bobby just got left in limbo. So instead of him just having a match or having like a run in with the Miz, like Miz had 2 spots at Mania against Pat McAfee and Snoop Dogg. Like, why couldn't Bobby Lashley fill in one of those spots? You know what I'm saying? And look, we all love Pat. I love Pat, but I feel like that was like mismanagement on booking on that part. Like Pat should have been on commentary for both nights. That's just me. Um, and Bobby
Yeah, I
could
kind
he
of
could have
wonder.
kept. Yeah,
I was just saying, I kind of wonder if maybe because I mean Pat's everywhere right now. Pat
yeah,
is all over the place. So I know his wife is due anytime. Coming up soon with their first child. But I kind of because I agree and I love Corey. I've grown to really love Michael Cole. I never thought I would say it 5 years ago. I probably wouldn't have said that,
yeah.
but I love Cole. Corey's really good, but I think that Cole, Corey, and McAfee would have been a good trio. I agree, but I kind of think maybe he could. I'd rather him just do commentary Saturday night than him to come in and do the match. I don't know. Like even like I love George Kittle, but that whole it's like Kittle and McAfee beating up on the Miz. And in WrestleMania is known to do that over the years, where they're doing the fun celebrity filler thing. But I'd rather have McAfee on the microphone doing the commentary, going back and forth with Corey Graves than doing what he did there.
Absolutely.
Um, One thing you said interests me, and this name always interests everybody in the world of WWE and mixed martial arts, is Brock Lesnar. And Brock's had a real. I mean, you got to give him props. If where that his career has been on paper has been amazing. Just all that he's accomplished: amateur wrestling, pro wrestling, MMA. But for me, there's been some things, especially since this recent comeback, how he's booked in WWE. How do you feel though he's been the past, I say, year or so, as far as Brock Lesnar and like really the transformation I feel like we're kind of seeing with him?
Um, I feel like I've really enjoyed this current run, at least up until what happened the night after WrestleMania with the whole swerve and everything. Swerve, bro. You know,
Swerve.
up until that swerve on Raw, the Mania, I really enjoyed this last Brock run. Like I feel like it's a breath of fresh air, kind of like almost a callback to Brock from his first run from 2002, 2004. Like he's shown the most personality he's shown since his first run. He's handling himself well on the mic. Doing the best he can. Even changed his look, got the ponytail, got the cowboy hat. almost kind of like reinventing himself a little bit in a way,
Right.
But and I really enjoyed it. It was like a breath of fresh air, you know what I'm saying? And he's a face, people cheering for him, like they popped for him anyway when he was a heel, so it's like it made sense, And and also if you notice, like he hasn't beaten Roman the last 3 times he's fought him, so he come back, he's putting people over. He put over Lashley despite the criticism of some of those matches. He has put over Lashley, like twice. It may not be the finishes that we wanted to see, but the record's always going to state that hey, Bobby Lashley beat Brock Lesnar, and one of those for the titles as well. So I really enjoyed this run. So I'm curious to see what they do with this whole feud with Cody and where that's headed. It's not really making sense, but I guess we'll find out more details as the weeks go on as we get into Backlash. But that's a whole nother conversation, though.
Right. Right. And I agree. I think I haven't been the biggest Brock Lesnar fan in a long time, but I was surprised that he was able to hold his own on the mic after being so long and him having Heyman.
Yeah.
And I am pleasantly surprised that they didn't just stick him with the belt and let him have this run. Romans has his time and letting Brock put people over. I thought the match with Omos shocked the hell out of me. It was way better than I thought it would be. And I give credit to both guys. It wasn't long. You can't go long with those two big, Brahma Bulls, as JR would say. But they did a great job. Brock sold for him really well. And I'm wondering, I just want to see what this can do for Omos. Like that's the kind of push that I think he needs to kind of take it to that next level.
Yeah, and to add, just go back to Omos and Brock. I feel like they should have swapped Omos and Lashley. Lashley and Omos should have swapped places. Omos should have been in the Battle Royal. They're kind of building him up to be the next Andre the Giant anyway. At least that was Vince's plan, before he stepped down. They should build Omos be like the next Andre the Giant, build him up as an attraction, let him be this dominant giant, just tearing through the roster. Like you saw what he did against Brock. What I'm saying? Imagine what he was doing with everybody else. He could have did all that in the Battle Royal. One, that would have put him over big time. And Bobby should have finished his feud with Brock at WrestleMania, not at Elimination Chamber. You know what I'm saying? Especially with a DQ. Like they got to run that back at some point. They can't let it end like that.
But why? Why do you think this is them just trying to build it up again? Because this was what everyone has wanted this matchup for darn near almost 20 years.
Yeah, I mean,
and so why not give it to him at WrestleMania?
I don't know. It could just be like politics. You know how that thing goes, man. It could be backstage politics. I don't really have the answers to all that. So, but I feel like it was just a missed opportunity. It's one of the rare misses from Triple H, since he took over, I will say. So I feel like they definitely should have held off on that till Mania and let them wrap it up there. But hopefully they run it back. Last year he's a face right now, and Brock is back being the heel. So there is potential to kind of run that back maybe for SummerSlam. But I feel like they really missed the boat on WrestleMania, to cap it off.
All right. So something you just said there, I got to bring up. Because last summer, Vince McMahon, the scandal breaks out. I'm 77. I've been a great ride. I got to retire. It's like, wow, who would have thought Vince stepping down? It was kind of mind-blowing. Scandal around it, all that stuff. All right, so now Triple H, what people have wanted for years. He's in creative. You and I would text about it. Started off on fire, making the right choice, bringing back so many people. It felt like he's doing the right things. And then you hear around Christmas time, the fall, December, Vince might be coming back, and he's the biggest shareholder, so trying to get the sale going, but it's still Triple H's thing. And wouldn't you know, Tim, at least in my opinion, the booking starts getting a little funky. We start going back to those Vince ways. And I kind of like to what you say. I would give this WrestleMania overall C+ to B-.
Yeah, about the same. About the same for me as well.
And what I'll say is where they were going when Triple H first started, I thought this was going to be an A WrestleMania.
It should have been. We haven't even touched on the main event yet. You know what I'm saying? But
right.
You know how I feel about that. You know what I'm saying?
But and we're gonna get to it. I promise. I just was just like, I'm wondering what do you think is going on, because what it seems like is I don't know who's running WWE right now from the outside. Now you have that inside, used to work there. You got those connections. So just help me out here. Who do you think? Is it Paul? Is Paul running this? Who's running this?
Well, per my sources,
Okay.
from what I've heard, what I read, um, so as you know, the sale took place with Endeavor, which merges UFC and WWE. So Vince and Dana White, they still are in control. They still have a say in what goes on, as far as like WWE, and Dana White has a say in what goes on with UFC. It's just that Vince no longer has majority voting power once the deal is finalized. Like he still has like 18% like shareholding rights or whatever like that. Like once the deal closes, and then after that, he no longer has majority voting rights. So I guess that is like somewhat of a silver lining right there. I guess, but he is somewhat involved in creative, but just not in the thick of it. So Triple H on
Not day to day.
yeah. So Triple H is still head of creative on paper. You know what I'm saying for now. But Vince, he's involved at a higher level. You know what I'm saying, as he said in the quote. So we'll see. Maybe you saw Raw at the Mania, like that was clearly a Vince show. You know what I'm saying, like, and you could just tell the difference, like just from watching SmackDown, even this past Raw, like you could tell it's a completely different, two different shows from what we saw Raw at the Mania, because you could tell Triple H was back in power on SmackDown and this past Raw right here. But
Well, for people listening, break down what do you mean it was a Vince show, which was different than what we've been getting.
well, it was reported and speculated, that Vince was in charge. Actually, there was actually a talent and staff meeting called 2 hours before the show at 6 p.m. Um, so all the talent were together, and I guess they were getting together, let everybody know that hey, Vince is coming back. He's going to be running the show tonight, and they said morality just dropped all the way down. Nobody was really feeling that. There was a ton of rewrites before and during the show as Raw was on the air. And even if you watch like one of the segments, like there was an interview, they were doing an interview with Becky, Lita, and Trish. And you could visibly see on Becky's face that she looked PO. She was pissed off. That she was unhappy with whatever they was doing that night. Like you could tell it was like chaos. Like it was definitely given like Starrcade main event '97 vibes. With all the backstage politics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely a lot going on, and it was just weird when Triple H came out and gave that speech, and they made it a big deal. Like he had this announcement. We thought he was going to announce the draft, which he did eventually announce on SmackDown, but
Right.
it was just weird that he came out. And he was thanking the fans. Thanking them for coming, attending WrestleMania, breaking all these records and stuff. And I'm just like, well, what? Get to the point, Hunter. What are you talking about? But I think now after seeing what transpired, now it kind of makes more sense. Like Triple H, he knew what was going on, so he just kind of like getting us ready. It seemed like he was almost saying goodbye for a second, But I mean, for now, he's still in control, so he hasn't lost his position or anything. But he still has to answer to Vince, for right now,
Which is what it was before.
Yeah, but see, Vince wasn't really in the picture though. Like Vince was running the business side, but he wasn't really in the picture. Now it seems like Vince is kind of tiptoeing back into creative.
That's what I mean. Before the scandal, before Vince stepped down in summer of 22, I mean, like that's what it feels like. It feels like the way it's been all these years. Vince just running it, and I mean, it's just really weird because I don't really know how I feel. I mean, Vince McMahon's legacy, you have to say, is really up in the air. I don't know. You can't deny what he did to take wrestling to another level. You can't deny that over the past 40 years,
Yeah,
right? But I just look at the past decade of it, just like kind of has that act like that. I'm using football like Al Davis. Like Al Davis was the man in the 60s, 70s, 80s, but then the 2000s and it was just like Al, you need to let it go. And I'm just looking at Vince going, don't you see? But we all have egos to an extent, but some have bigger than others. It's like, can't you see the business was clicking? Fans were liking it better. And what's the rule that, hey, whatever the fans decide, we let the fans choose who we put over, who we don't. So to me, it's like, Vince, your own rule. the fans decide. The fans were saying, we want Hunter. We like how it's going. Yet, that Raw after, which was like the worst Raw after WrestleMania I've seen in how long, Tim? It was terrible.
Yeah, and the Raw after Manias, lately just haven't really been hitting like they used to. But I will say there were a few things I could cherry pick that I did like. I like how they set up a future feud between Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. I like how they set that up. I like the potential setup of getting Bad Bunny involved with this Ray and Dom feud. So it looks like they're probably going to get a tag match between Ray and Bad Bunny against Dom and Priest, either a Backlash or maybe somewhere down the line. I don't know, but just a few things. But oh, and of course the swerve with Brock and Cody, like that was unexpected, but didn't make no sense. But it was.
Tim. I could book those things. You could. I mean, I know you were a writer in the past, but I can't say like that was like, oh man, all the Bad Bunny thing. Of course, I would do that in a heartbeat.
I mean, those are just a few things that were good though. Like for the most part, it was basically like glorified Raw talk because there was a lot of talking. If you
A lot of talking.
a lot of talk, especially for Raw at the Mania. Like I know they have surprises. I know it's going to be a promo heavy show, but like, come on, man! Like it's a 3 hour show. It was a total of 33 minutes of wrestling on TV. Come on, you know. So, but SmackDown in this past Raw was a breath of fresh. It was like a completely different show, like night and day, because there was a lot more wrestling this past week for SmackDown and Raw. After that, so.
I mean, shockingly, he's still writing his legacy. I should have known. He's like the boogeyman. He's Beetlejuice. He can't go away, Vince McMahon. What do you think? Do you think? I mean, how do you view Vince? I mean, take your personal bias out because you know him. But how do you view Vince McMahon?
I mean, without Vince, obviously we wouldn't even be talking about this past WrestleMania, or we wouldn't be here. Period. So, but at the same time, it's like dude, he's just past his prime, man. Sometimes you just gotta let it go, and he's just not trying to let his baby go. You know what I'm saying? So he's just trying to hold on, and he's just a little too far out of touch. You know what I'm saying? Like he's 77 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's a 77-year-old man, gonna have in common with what the young crowd is gonna be into today? You know what I'm saying? Like Triple H, he's older, but he's still a little bit more in touch with what the young fans, what they want to see, and who they want to see, and what stories they want told. So it's just time to let it go. Like if he wants to come back, let him run the business. He's good at marketing. I will give him that. He can market the hell out of something. You know what I'm saying? But
Marketing genius.
yeah, but don't let him get involved in creative. You know what I'm saying? Like handle the business, sign the checks. You know what I'm saying? Make whatever type of endorsement deals you want to do, but let Triple H do him. But I will say, like, he's a creative genius. He gave us WrestleMania, he gave us Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, The Rock. So many great moments. With his rivalry with Stone Cold, but he's done, man. I feel like I knew he was done when he boxed the Stunner last year against Austin. I knew he was done then. So it's time. It's,
He
it's time for him to go, man.
okay.
It's time,
All right.
yeah. I mean,
Now,
yeah.
I didn't forget the main event. To put a bow on WrestleMania and everything like that. But like the main event, Roman Reigns keeping his title, keeping a title for the Bloodline, knocking off Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. You got problems with that? How do you feel?
I'm still recovering, so give me some time. I'm still. All I'm gonna say is, look, Cody Rhodes got robbed. Okay, he got robbed. He should have walked out as a champion. That was my initial thoughts. I texted you, I think, that same night too about it. Initially, that was my thought. I was definitely heated. I was like, man, they really dropped the ball in this. Cause I'm like, you don't really get too many moments like that with a baby face that's super old. And you saw that crowd. They was white hot for Cody.
Yeah.
They really wanted him to win. It's been two, maybe three instances I've seen before, where a babyface had Roman on the ropes and the crowd was really pumped. They really wanted to see him win. And you thought they was going to pull the trigger and they didn't. Like, It was Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber because the crowd was right behind him. He was super over like a month ago or so. Drew McIntyre in the UK at Clash of the Castle, and even Brock at SummerSlam last year in that last man standing match. I thought Brock might get the title then, but like, man, like Cody, that was his moment, man. Like for all just to go through all that to leave and then come back and then get injured, like 2 months later and had to miss like 8 or 9 months of action. You know what I'm saying? I know everybody was saying, well, he was kind of forced, he's being rushed into it, or he's being rewarded because he defected from AEW, whatnot. But you gotta understand, like his whole journey and him leaving, that's all part of the story. And I feel like he didn't just come in and just get handed anything. Like, he was working for it. He had the rivalry with Seth. You know what I'm saying? But he let it be known that, okay, he's coming for the title at some point. He let it be known. So it's not like he just got jumped into it all random. Then he got hurt, which is unfortunate. So we'll never know what his plan was, what his story was going to be, that whole 9 months he was gone. So he comes in the Royal Rumble. The only thing I say they messed up on was they announced his return ahead of time too early, and doing all those vignettes, and especially having him coming at number 30. I get it. I get why they did that because they want that statistic of having the number 1 and number 30 entrant be the last two. They never had it before. So I get that. And him and Gunther had a good last 10 minutes showing in that Rumble.
They did. They did.
So to say Cody, he definitely earned it against Gunther. You know what I'm saying? He took a beating from Gunther. And I could definitely see Gunther and Cody having a nice little program in the future at some point. But yeah, like Cody, he's been having matches like every other week. While Roman, he's taking time off and he shows up, he cuts a promo, then leaves. You know what I'm saying? He's a champion. I get it. He can afford to.
But to say he earned it, and how often? At least he shows up. I mean, Brock was champion, and he'd show up once every like 3 months. It felt like.
But here's the thing, though. Like people forget. Like people say that the biggest argument is they think Cody got handed this title opportunity. He's being forced. But think how Roman started this, historic almost 3 year title reign. Like he literally came back in the door, this during COVID, of course, because we understand why he had to leave because, he had the previous, health scare with leukemia and everything. So we understand why he had to dip. But he literally came in the door, got the title. So he signed the contract on the dot right there on the spot, came in the match late. You know what I'm saying? Like he was showing up late to work or something, clocked in, won the title. And now he's 3 years later, he's still a champion, and that's the same thing that people are complaining to Cody about. Now, on the other hand, while I do think it's a missed opportunity, I do see that this builds up more of a redemption arc for Cody. It's going to make him even stronger and even hotter with the fans. Because you saw he came out that Monday after, like, the fans are still behind him. They haven't turned on him. They still want to see him win. You know what I'm saying? And he's like the best option they got for being like a good replacement for John Cena, that they've been looking for. At least I feel like, he's over. He's one of the top merch sellers. You know what I'm saying? Like, how is he not the guy? So I would say
because you already got the guy. You got the guy in Roman Reigns. That's why.
But he's the top heel guy. Coach, the top heel needs a good counter. Like look, throughout history, throughout wrestling, like Hogan had Piper, Bret Hart had Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold had The Rock.
You always need both. You need a good heel and a good baby face. I know.
John Cena had Edge. You know what I'm saying? So Roman has to have somebody to kind of counter, to be the yin to his yang. You know what I'm saying?
And he's got it.
So
he just don't need to win right now. Cody. I like Cody. I think definitely let him have some build up with Brock. I wouldn't mind him having a match with Seth again.
I think the building that, because I don't know if you heard, there's like a report coming out that they got like some real heat going on, but I think it might be like a work shoot between the two that they're building between Seth and Cody.
Who Seth is just brilliant, man. I think talk about an underrated superstar real quick in Seth Rollins. I mean, making Logan Paul look good. I mean,
they had a good match too. I forgot the match.
Yeah,
they had a good match. That was definitely one of the highlights from Mania too.
Don't sleep on Logan. Logan Paul. I know he came. No one likes the guy who comes in already celebrity and all that. But Logan Paul's got some athletic ability. He's putting in the work, so I'll give him that.
Yep.
I definitely will not take that away from him.
Yep. And
but
now I'm curious to see what else they do with him because he just re-signed another deal with WWE too. So I'm hoping at some point this is a dream match of mine. I hope we get like Logan Paul, Bad Bunny, and Pat McAfee in a triple threat at some point. Because
Oh wow,
the three of them, they can work. They put in the work and they take the business seriously. So I like to see the three of them mix it up at some point.
that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
But we have talked about the greatness of Roman Reigns. See, what for the audience, what we have to let Tim just brush by is remember COVID, the world, everyone's shut down. I don't know what's going on. WWE's in the Thunderdome. You just got people on screens, no crowds.
Yeah.
So Tim's saying he just backdoored the title. I'm saying look at it with WWE's in a weird spot. He stepped up and took the reins, no pun intended, and then went in there and has led him through such a tough time and to such a prosperous, glorious time. That's how I see it. That he was a big reason why I'm still watching when they're in this Thunderdome.
And look,
Like you gotta give him credit for that.
I'm not knocking him at all, but what he did, that's the same thing that people was knocking Cody for, and what they've knocked previous wrestlers who come walk in the door do the same thing, like The Rock, Brock Lesnar, a few other people too, Hogan, um, but I will give Roman his props. Like he put the company on his back, and he did have a title shot guaranteed before, but of course COVID hit, so he had to dip. He had to forfeit his WrestleMania match against Goldberg. So but still, he was gone though. He was.
Dude, you're saying some big ones here.
But
you're saying some big ones here.
Remember, he was gone though, so it was other people that stepped up once he was gone that put in the work. You know what I'm saying? And he just came and picked up the scraps. Now,
Who?
The Fiend, Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre.
Nope. We disagree on that one. The Fiend was doing work, but not heavyweight title work. He was building his character nicely, but not for the title. He was doing his own separate thing. Strowman, I like Braun, but no way. He could not carry that load as the champion. Drew McIntyre showed that he's not ready to be the guy to carry it.
You still think so?
Not the heavyweight title, no.
Oh.
No, I like Drew, but are you really getting hyped for Drew as the champion?
Yes.
Drew versus like Cody. What's that bringing you?
That's a damn good match right there. That is.
Oh, come on.
That's a pay-per-view worthy match right there.
WrestleMania worthy match?
I'd say so.
I'm not talking about I think they both can work well.
Yeah.
I'm talking about they can give me a storyline that will carry me through.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We already know Cody can talk. Cody gonna give you a over-the-top dramatic story on the mic. We know he can tell a story in the ring. Drew, we know he can work. You know what I'm saying? And Drew's also charismatic himself. So I feel like Cody will carry most of the story on the mic. And Drew, they'll both be about even in the ring and stuff. But I feel like that'll definitely be a pay-per-view marquee-worthy match right there, especially for the title.
Yeah, I like Clash of Champions or something. One of them lower, pay-per-views or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little Backlash or something like that. I don't know, something. It could go there. But I just think Drew McIntyre, they tried it. It didn't really quite click as much.
Well, here's the thing. You talk about how Roman was holding the company up, on his back during that whole pandemic era. Drew was right there along with him, putting the company on his back when he was WWE champion, and he's never had his title win in front of the fans. Like he got robbed that because of the pandemic.
He did. I give you that.
And look, he was red hot up until the pandemic. He was red hot. Like you heard that crowd, the Rumble, when he eliminated Brock, the crowd erupted. You know what I'm saying? Like they was really behind him, and it's a shame that we'll never know what that crowd reaction would have been like if he had hit Brock with the Claymore at WrestleMania in that stadium. You know what I'm saying? We'll never know, but I feel like he's definitely owed a title win in front of the fans.
There's just something to it. He's just not. He's doing okay since all the crowds have been back. It's like Drew is all right. He's good, but he's not like, I need some Drew McIntyre there. Where Roman has just gotten it going. I mean, and the thing is, Paul Heyman's a nice piece. It's not like with Brock where Paul Heyman's really drawing that. What Roman says, what Roman does is really great. Paul's doing his work, but Roman is getting you going. The whole bloodline thing, manipulating the family, and he's being that master manipulator, and let's just acknowledge me. It just gets it good, man. And then he does it so great where he is a dangerous wrestler, but yet he's got the whole chicken shit heel thing in there too. He blends it well, but it's not like the Miz or Seth where you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, they can be like chicken shit heels. It's like Roman. It looks like a bad, dangerous dude because he is, but yet he knows how to get these, get the Usos in there, manipulate, get Heyman to manipulate, and does enough where it's like he's a dangerous threat, but he's chicken shit heel, and he makes people mad, but like him. He does it all, man. Roman Reigns is great out there, man. You just got to give it to him.
You're not wrong. You're not. I 100% agree. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Everybody's talking about how Cody's getting forced and getting rest, but I'm just saying. Look back when Roman started. I get it. It was the pandemic. He had to leave because of health reasons. I get that. But
Right.
I'm just saying it's the same type of scenario. You know what I'm saying? At least Cody, he had to earn it. He had to work for it. He had to go through different feuds. He had to win the Royal Rumble. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm not. But back to Roman. I'm not saying you're wrong. Roman's done a phenomenal job. I've definitely enjoyed this whole bloodline story. It's like a Goodfellas movie playing out in front of us on live TV for like the past 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you could definitely see like the cracks forming. Like you know, at this point, I wouldn't mind seeing Jey Uso step up and maybe be the one to do it because it started with Jey Uso, and a lot of people are saying it should end with Jey Uso. And I,
I agree.
and the more I see, especially in that match he had with Sammy in the main event of SmackDown, like I could definitely see it. Like I was looking at Jay in that match, I was like, yeah, Jay could be a star on his own. Like he could be like kind of like how Jeff Hardy broke out on his own and he became a star on his own solo. Like I could definitely see Jey Uso blowing up, becoming that main event Jey Uso like they've been building up like the past 2 years. Like I can definitely see it. Jimmy, I don't know where he's going to end up. Everybody loves Jimmy, but I don't know where he's going to end up though. So we'll see. But Jey Uso, I definitely see money in the solo Jey Uso run.
I agree with that. I think that'd be interesting to do as well. Where do you think Heyman goes if they break up the bloodline? What do you think goes down with Paul Heyman?
Hmm. Well, I mean, Brock's back healed now, so I mean, maybe he might come crying back to Brock. You know what I'm saying? And become an advocate again. And look, everything that Cody said in that promo, I don't know, it might have been before Mania. Like, look, the Bloodline's going to leave you. Solo's going to leave. The Usos going to leave you. Solo's going to leave. And Heyman's going to leave. He's going to end up becoming the advocate again. And it's going to be a Roman with no reigns. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like Heyman ends up going back to Brock at some point. I feel like Brock is going to retire with Heyman in his corner. I feel like, it's only right because they started together.
Yeah, and they're forever linked.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, Paul Bearer eventually made his way back to the Undertaker. Before the end. So
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Okay, so I I think the Cody stuff. I do think he's getting forced down our throats a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
he's over, man. He's over, man. The crowd, he gets pops every single week. He's over, man.
Of course, because the whole AEW thing, let's just call it what it is. Like, he was there, he was this rogue, independent, underdog dude, and now he went back to WWE and all that stuff. And I like Cody, I do, but I'm just like, I don't know. I never thought of Cody as main event. It feels like they're trying, people want a Daniel Bryan 2.0. And the thing is, that Daniel Bryan run, it was organic. It was natural. It was a phenomenon that just happened. He had the perfect villains with Triple H and Stephanie. It worked. I feel like ever since Daniel Bryan, the wrestling world, the WWE universe is looking for the next Daniel Bryan too much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just let it happen. And that's my thing. Let Cody Rhodes happen instead of trying to now he's the next Daniel Bryan and we're doing that whole thing. That's all I'm saying.
Well, here's the thing. It's happening. I mean, now look, the injury, like I said, we won't.
It's physically happening.
we won't know what would have happened. We don't know what his plans would have been for SummerSlam or Survivor Series or whatever. But look, he was gone. He came back. He still put in the work. You know what I'm saying? He busted his tail. He had matches every other week. You know what I'm saying? He was getting ready. So you can't say he didn't put in the work. So, but I will say to the Daniel Bryan point, yeah, fans they're looking for another Daniel Bryan. But the thing is though, the whole yes move that wasn't supposed to happen. Daniel Bryan was
Exactly.
Daniel Bryan was supposed to be in the mid card. You know what I'm saying?
I
And
know.
the whole reason that whole started is because they didn't put him in the Royal Rumble that year. You know what I'm saying? So they hijacked the show and booed Batista out the building, and they forced Daniel Bryan. They were forced to like rewrite the script and put Daniel Bryan in that main event. You know, and it paid off. You know, so since then everybody's been trying like they did it with Kofi Kingston, Kofi Mania. But I will say that was a great moment, so I allow that, and it was great. You know what I'm saying? Kofi, that's one of the greatest moments ever in WrestleMania history. You know what I'm saying? I'm forever going to remember that. That's in my top three. Um, I'm trying to think who else they try to do it with. I mean, pretty much any underdog wrestler, you know, that's on the come up, they try to put that Daniel Bryan label on them. But Cody he's not Daniel Bryan because he doesn't look like an underdog. Even though he may not be as big as like Roman or Brock Lesnar or Braun Strowman, but he doesn't look like you don't get underdog vibes from Cody. Like he looks like a main event type star. He looks like a star. Basically, the presentation, the promos, you know, like dude can tell a story. He has the family heritage. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man.
Cody looks like an intercontinental champion.
Oh,
That's what he looks like.
oh.
That's what Cody looks like. And I think he would be a great intercontinental champ. I think he could be one of the greatest. And that's a compliment. I'm not knocking him. Intercontinental champion, that means you're the best worker.
Well, guess
Usually I go to the best
well,
worker.
guess what? Cody's been there, done that, and he brought back the classic Intercontinental title design too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. And he should have been there, done that, and stay there and keep doing that. That's what he should do. He should stay there and keep doing that. I'm just like, man, this is just so forced. And it was just like, I almost was like watching the Royal Rumble thinking, I would like to see Gunther take him out.
Mm.
I'd rather see
Well,
Gunther.
you know what?
I like Gunther.
Well, yeah, I like Gunther too, and he's having a great run. I feel like he's been like one of the best booked talents on the main roster since Triple H took over. Like that's probably the best thing Triple H has probably done since he took over is protecting Gunther and making him look like an absolute beast. You know what I'm saying? They put Imperium back together, they're back whole again. You know what I'm saying? Like he's putting on fire matches. Um, so I feel like he might break the Honky Tonk Man's record too. I feel like that might happen at some point. So I think he has to.
I'll say this real quick. I'd rather see Drew McIntyre than Cody. I give you that.
Oh, now you want to see Drew. Now you want to see Drew hold the title.
Over Cody Rhodes, yeah. Over Cody Rhodes, yeah, I would. I mean, let's be real. Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes to headline in WrestleMania, that's a snooze fest. I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. I don't care if it's night one, night two, whatever. Turn off Peacock. I'm going to bed. I'll say, Tim, tell me about it in the morning. And I know the thing is, you would lie and try to hype it up. No, it was actually good, Deremy. It was good. It wasn't that bad. I'd be like, nah, it was lame. That's a lame match, a lame story. I have no investment in that.
Oh my God. I was about to say something. Oh, you got me sidetracked. Now I know. So you mentioned Drew. So who would you rather see? Would you rather see Cody beating Roman at WrestleMania, or would you rather see
Mm-hmm.
Drew beating? Would you rather see Drew beating Roman at Clash of Castle, or would you rather see Sting beat Seth for the title at Night of Champions?
Wow. Um, for those who are listening, Tim has a smile because he knows how I feel about Sting, and the fact that he brought up Sting, just how dare you, sir? Um, Sting, maybe the most overrated wrestler of all
Oh
time.
my God.
So that's definitely last. I don't need to see Sting do anything anymore. And I think Sting seems like a very nice guy. He can do. I like Sting on Table for Three, that show. He's good on those. He can be a good talking head on documentaries. Um, a good guest on a podcast. Sting is great all there. I don't need to see Sting in a ring no more competing. If he wants to come back for like the Legends night and just stand in the ring and hug it out with everybody, He can do that too.
Mm.
No more Sting. No more Sting. So that's last. I rather definitely don't want to see that. Give me the other two out. You threw me off with the whole Sting thing. So oh boy,
It was
but it
it was either see
go
it was
ahead.
either see Sting beat Seth
Oh
at
jeez,
Night of Champions, or see
no.
Drew beats Roman at Clash of the Castle for the titles, or Cody beats Roman at WrestleMania for the titles.
I would say Drew beating Roman.
Okay.
I think that could get it. And the other way, I think there's a matchup of Titans. If you would have Roman and Heyman and the Bloodline going against Big Drew, that's a good thing. I could see going down. That could work. Um, that could be a good like hero, good villain thing. I would like that. And what they could do with it is the storyline you talked about, like Drew saying that should be my moment. COVID ruined my moment, and Roman being like, no, you couldn't carry it like I could. That's why they gave it to me.
Mm.
They knew you couldn't handle it. Like, that would be a good set. So I think that would be awesome to see. I would like that. The Cody one is like, no, Sting is a hell no. Um, I wouldn't even watch that. I wouldn't even watch Sting. And I'd be like, why? To me, why are you wasting Seth Rollins by doing that? So no.
Well,
Uh,
even though it's unfortunate, Sting did get hurt and he had to retire for a little bit. It's unfortunate, but Seth kind of did you a favor and put Sting on the shelf for a little bit. So, unfortunately,
I just want to know, because you have the inside information, does money how much of Sting's money does he give to Ric Flair for making him all those years? Is it 50%, 60? Just how much do you have any numbers on that,
come
Tim?
on,
How much money does Sting give to Ric Flair for making him what he is?
come on, man. Flair was getting dogged. Flair said it himself. His whole career, he got his ass whooped. But I want to ask you this: who carried the match in Starrcade '97? Was it Sting or was it Hogan? Who carried the match?
Wow. So you mean like the worst main event, one of the worst in wrestling history? Who carried it? Hogan was the match itself.
Yeah, the match. Who carried the match?
Was Hogan. It was Hogan. Hogan in that awful match. Now the Sting, that was the best I ever saw Sting building up to Starrcade '97. And for people listening, this has been an ongoing thing with me and Tim and one of our friends, Damien. Just like their love of Sting, which makes no sense. So I'm just going to say this real quick. No, Sting was built up very well leading up to Starrcade '97. It just fell off awfully in that match. What a waste! And it ruined three careers: Sting, Hogan, and Bret Hart, all in one swoop that night. And none of them ever were the same. Well, Sting never was anything anyway, but Hogan and Bret Hart never were the same. So that's what I feel about that.
I always get a kick out of Deremy shooting on Sting. I'm just trying to figure out where this beef come, where does heat for Sting come from? Like, where does it start?
Um, it comes from watching WCW and being just like not impressed with Sting, but yet he was the golden boy of WCW. And in the ladies into the night, and I go, I don't really see it. It's nothing. And to me, the only thing that he had was when he was with Ric Flair, and Flair would carry those matches and make him look great, like Flair did with Lex Luger and other people. Flair made a lot of people look good, and Sting's one of many on that list. So then it showed me something that Sting, when they brought in Hogan and Macho Man and all these guys from WWE to WCW in the mid '90s, Sting with the whole color scheme, he got lost because he was bland and he sucked. So he got lost. Then Scott Hall, God rest his soul, gave him a great idea about being like the Crow and like Brandon Lee, and it was working. Tim and our audience, it was working where they built him up really good. He had this mysterious thing, and he was taking on the NWO and Hogan. They had like a year build up. It was cool. I was like, I like Sting. And then we had Starrcade '97. And for those who don't know, just look it up. It was a travesty. It was atrocious. And Sting then fell off. He went back to his ways. And I don't understand where people were like, I just wish Sting could have been in a WWE ring. And that was talked about for so long. And I go, why do we care? And then he gets into the ring against Triple H, and then they had to do all the stunts with DX and NWO to make it worthwhile. Okay. But I just never understood where it's like, I just love to see him in a WWE ring. I go, I have no love for that. I don't care. And it's, the hard part is that from everything I hear and see, the real Sting is a very nice guy. So that's really cool. I'm glad he's a very nice guy, but Sting, the wrestler, I don't really like.
You know, I was talking to Dame earlier. I told him I was going to be on the show, so he's going to see this later probably. He's going to definitely give you some heat for this later on after he sees this.
Yeah, Dame, hey man, love you man, but no, Sting's awful. I don't know what you see in him. I said that then, I said that now. Hey, just like WWE, then, now, forever. Well, you know, Sting sucks then, now, forever. That's what he, yeah, that's how Sting
Oh,
is. So,
oh man.
so I have to say that. But you know, after WrestleMania 30, we'll get back on track. After WrestleMania 39 and all that stuff, WWE wasn't out the news because there was a big sale. And I don't know what got more attention, the sale or Vince's dyed mustache and hair, but both got a lot of attention. And Tim, we were talking about it for a little bit, and I wanted to see just, we didn't really go too deep. I want to see what are your thoughts on this sale and what do you think it means for WWE, which also could really mean pro wrestling in its own way. What does this sale mean, you think?
Um, I say for right now, we probably won't see any immediate changes or effects right now at the moment because you know the deal still needs to finalize. So um, I will say though, as time goes on, we probably might see an increase in like sponsorships or ads because you know UFC they like use a lot of ads and sponsorships, and they got it all posted on their banners, you know, around ringside during their fights. So you might see that. We could potentially see some crossovers, maybe. I don't. It depends if Vince and Dana White are comfortable with that. I don't know, but I mean they got Ronda Rousey already in WWE, so I'm sure they got a good relationship. But I don't know. It's really up in the air at this point. I hear people online talking about how, because you know UFC they still use pay per view, and WWE they're on Peacock, so they pretty
Mm-hmm.
much abandoned the whole pay per view model at this point. And everybody's worried is WWE going to go back to the whole pay per view thing where you got to pay $50 to $70, you know, to watch premium. Well, it's premium live event now, but so I don't think they're going to do that because if the WWE network, the old WWE network, had it not been successful, you know, then they would still be on pay per view if it wasn't successful.
Right.
So because the WWE network worked out and it was successful for a while, and at the time it was unprecedented because we were getting all this content, you know, all the all the WrestleManias, every pay per view from WWE, ECW, WCW. As a wrestling fan, like that's a dream come true. We get to watch all these,
Yeah.
you know, especially the ones that you missed as a kid because your parents wouldn't chuck out that extra $35, $40 for the pay per view. Like, so I get to go back and watch that. Plus, you know, the behind the scenes content, like, you know, WWE 24 and the scripted shows like Edge and Christian show and Camp WWE, you know, so, and plus the live stream, that's what the game changer was. The live stream of all the new pay per views that came on as they aired. Like,
Yeah.
no streaming app was doing that at the time, you know. Like, I know at the time, Netflix was like the big thing, and that was kind of unheard of in itself back then, but when the network came around, nobody was doing stuff like that. Now you got Peacock, they're streaming like live games and stuff like that. Hulu, they're streaming live content as well, like you know, like the election stuff and sports as well. You know, you got other streaming apps doing the same thing. Like Netflix, they just had a live stream of Chris Rock's last comedy special, I believe, not too long.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like WWE Network kind of like set that blueprint for all the other streaming apps. So
Right.
now
It was innovative. It was
yeah, so
innovative.
now they're with Peacock, and I don't, and everybody's worried that they're going back pay per view now that they're merged with UFC and Endeavor and stuff. I don't think they're going to do that. Like, and plus they have the contract with Peacock till like 2026. So and Peacock, I'm sure they're going to renew because WWE is giving them a lot of business, a lot of subscriptions. So
Yeah, because Peacock really has The Office and WWE. That's it right
yeah,
now.
and Bel Air too. They got Bel Air, you know.
But is Bel Air really carrying them like that? I mean, Bel Air's a good show. I'm just saying. So I agree with you. It's very good. I don't know how it's doing popularity wise. Like I know The Office is what like and WWE carries it. So I'm not knocking it. I like the show. I don't know how well it's doing popularity
I mean, I would
wise.
say as far as like the black community, the black demographic, I would say it's probably doing well there, obviously. But I don't know everywhere else, especially this season. I haven't really heard much talk about this season, but I like this. I enjoyed this season, the season two that just came out. So I'm looking forward to the future episodes that's coming out later. But I know it's not. I know it's not the sole reason that's carrying Peacock. It's other things too, like The Office, WWE, and also Peacock. They also stream movies that are in theaters exclusively on that platform as well. Like the
True.
last Halloween movie, Nope, you know,
Yeah, but to say Jordan Peele's last movie, yeah.
right. So occasionally they might release like movies that are already in theaters, and they might exclusively release them on the app the same day they're in theaters and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool too. Um, but other than that, like
What about
Peacock doesn't.
what about this though? With UFC has that deal with ESPN. WWE over the years has been building a good rapport with ESPN. Could you see WWE going on ESPN Plus maybe
I'm,
and kind of joining up there?
I mean, what we're seeing right now, like they're already like expanding and reaching out to other platforms, other forms of media. Like on the WWE Network, I mentioned earlier how they had all this content. Now you're seeing all that original content spread out across like different networks. Like they got the WWE Rivals on A&E. They got the
Right, right.
A&E network, and also the biography series as well. So I could definitely see them like bleeding over to ESPN. Like they just did something with Stephen A. Smith. Like Nick Khan was just on First Take. You know what I'm saying? So I could definitely see them like bleeding over, crossing over with ESPN. Like Jonathan Coachman, he was working there for a minute, and I think Charlie Caruso, she used to work for ESPN and she went back. So she's there now. So you got to connect right there. I could definitely see them doing some sort of collaboration in the future. So we'll see. We just got to see how that goes.
Yeah, I just wonder because I agree with you. I can't see them going back to the pay. I think people would go crazy. And I think people wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
Like number one, most importantly, because I think if people would buy it, they maybe would. I know for me, once you have this now, I'm not looking at the pay per view model anymore. Like I'll rather you give me the recap the next night or whatever. I'm okay. I'm not going to drop 50, $70, not 12 times a year. Maybe we might get me for WrestleMania or SummerSlam or like the Rumble, but I'm not doing it all 12 months. Like you're just not going to get it. So like you might as well keep the streaming model where no matter what, if people don't want to watch they may well only watch half of the pay-per-views, you're still getting that guaranteed money to whatever subscriber or streaming platform every because you're paying that monthly fee. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't think that's the case, but I with you. I just think it's just interesting. You said the crossover, and I'm sure you saw like Paul Heyman doing like a promo on Conor McGregor and coming at him a little bit. And part of me is like, is that like to what you said of trying to get that? Hey, the deals have because we all know Heyman's a smart man himself, so that's him trying to get something going there. And if we see McGregor showing up at something sometime soon, I'm not saying he's going to get in the ring, but just he's showing up and getting that buzz going, especially something after this new deal
Yeah,
happened.
I mean, well, here's the thing. They've been had a relationship with UFC, and they've had crossovers. Like Ken Shamrock, he came up from UFC. He was a full-time WWE superstar at one point. They got Ronda Rousey over there now. Brock Lesnar, he made the jump from WWE to UFC. Now he's back now. So, and I know there's been like exchange of words between Conor McGregor. He's been trash talking some of the wrestlers and stuff like that too, on and off. So I could definitely see like definitely some sort of crossover happening. I don't know if we're gonna see any like actual like duking it out or anybody getting involved. Like you're not gonna see any WWE wrestlers getting the octagon, that's for sure. Like
Mm.
CM Punk already set the example on that. So
Yeah, and he embarrassed
yeah,
himself.
twice. So we're not
Yeah.
gonna see that. But I don't know. I mean, it could. I would say the furthest it might go, it might be cross promotion. Like you might see WrestleMania promoted on a UFC fight or something. You might see a UFC fight promoted on SmackDown or Raw or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think that's probably as far as it might go. You know?
You know what I think about too, though, I think it's not going to be the same. And WWE has more in place and is better ran than what WCW was. But I just think about WCW when it had Ted Turner running it, a guy who loved wrestling. Now he wasn't a wrestling guy like in the business, but he loved wrestling. So no matter what, the ratings were bad, they were losing money. He wanted wrestling on his Turner networks, and they did do well under that. You know, after bringing in Bischoff in the mid '90s and all those things, that Time Warner deal, which is one of the worst business deals ever in not just wrestling but in like U.S. history, really helped to sink WCW. Is there a little bit of fear? I know it's different, not the same, but a little bit of fear where now you knew the McMahons cared about wrestling. One thing, for better or for worse. Now you have other people who are the top decision makers, who are business people who don't care. They're not wrestling first people. Are you a little concerned about that?
Yeah. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is this is kind of scary. You know what I'm saying? Like, even when WWE first went public, like what 20 years ago or so, like that,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay. I mean, I was a kid. I didn't really know about that stuff, but like looking back at it now, I'm just like, yeah, they didn't really start falling off until like after they went public. You know, then they went PG and everything like that. Um, so now with this whole Endeavor deal, it does give me like a flashback to the Time Warner deal with WCW. They've been showing they kind of slowly but surely repeating steps and mistakes of WCW too over the last 20 years. Like I think Nitro went 3 hours. They made the trend from 2 hours to 3 hours. Now Raw's 3 hours. You know, and WCW also got into the habit of bringing in too many old timers, part timers like Hogan, like Nash, Savage, Piper. You know what I'm saying? And giving them the big money, putting them in the main event spots, giving title shots, and that's what WWE's been doing recently with like Goldberg and Brock. You know what I'm saying? So, and now you got this Endeavor deal. You know, they said that what's the guy's name? I can't think. It's Emmanuel something. His last name is Emmanuel. He's the owner of Endeavor. Uh,
Ari
right.
Emanuel.
So he said like he owns the whole thing, but he can't really make any decisions unless he gets a say so from Vince on WWE stuff, and he can't do anything with UFC until he gets a say so on from Dana White. So at least there's like a barrier there. Like at least okay, he has to get a say so from Vince, or Dana White on either part. So at least there's that. Whereas Time Warner, like, no, we just coming in, we just taking all this, we taking all this over,
Mm-hmm.
So
True, true. So I agree that makes it a little bit better. I just wonder how it plays out, and I wonder how it plays out where they did this deal. Vince has power, but he's lost a lot of power with this deal
yeah,
too, and so I just kind of wonder what that means. And I do always kind of wonder when you get people who don't love it. They don't naturally love whatever the product is. Like I always feel like that's the sign it's going to go down. You know, a movie company, when you have people who love movies running it is great, then like it becomes successful. You get business people in there who they see it as profit, and they don't really love movies. They may like them, but they may not. They don't really care, and they're in charge, or they have a big say in charge. I can't help but think that's going to hurt that movie company. So to me, having people who aren't in sports entertainment, wrestling, I just feel like I can't see it. And the fact that you have new people in there and you have the old blood in Vince, I feel like can be a recipe for disaster.
yeah, and like I said, we really won't see how this all is going to play out until like maybe a year or two after the fact, because the deal's not finalized yet. Like they signed the deadline, but they have to let the deal finalize first. You know what I'm saying? So we really won't see the full effects until like maybe a year or two after. Because remember when Disney bought Fox and they had to wait like
Right.
18 months or so for the deal to finalize or something like that. So it's kind of like that. So we really won't see what's going to happen until like maybe a year or two after. But I will say this, like with Vince coming back now, he's back in charge after the scandal and everything. Like I don't know, there's like something about that rubs me the wrong way. And while yeah, we can give Vince's credit like we did earlier, like he did, make the business what it is today. But at the same time with the scandal and everything that's happened, I just feel like it's it sends a wrong message, to everybody, especially like the female viewers and even like people that was accused of them and stuff like that. Like this guy was accused of misconduct and harassment and paying prize money, and
Absolutely.
now he's back, as the chairman of the board, and you know what I'm saying? Like wait a minute, you know what I'm saying? Like what's going on here? Like so it just seems like a bad message, and it kind of sort of leaves a bad taste in my mouth a little bit with that. So I don't know how to feel about that, but
No, I'm in the same boat, and I'm glad you brought that up because it just felt like in the summer it was like okay, like I feel like even then you really didn't get like a lot of like background into what happened. It's like he kind of like stepped down, and you knew he paid off a lot of money. Okay, and then it's like 5 6 months later he's coming back, he's swooping in, and now this deal, and I feel like even, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you've heard, I feel like people haven't really held him to the fire when it comes to this deal. Like they're talking about like he has the look, the weird look. They're talking about the what this deal means for WWE, for UFC, for Dana White, for Ari Emanuel. But that's not getting addressed a lot. Is like you said, what this means for female employees, the talent, and behind the scenes at WWE, what it means for female viewership. We've seen the women's revolution really rise in the past decade. What this means for that, and what kind of message you're sending. Where a lot of young ladies, young girls have become even more WWE fans. What this kind of sends here, and it can send a real dangerous
yeah,
message.
you know what I'm saying? That's really the biggest thing that, like you said, that not everybody's really talking about. And they really made like a big deal, the women's revolution and everything like that. And the women, they're doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? They're doing a great job. Like, and I know we didn't talk about this a whole lot, but Rhea and Charlotte, that was definitely another one of my favorite matches from Mania that past weekend, too. They definitely did a good job. Um, but yeah, man, it just seems like just a bad message overall. Just, like from a 9 month span, like, and I heard like one of his yes men was in his ear talking about he took bad advice and he stepped down too early and he should have waited it out, wait for the smoke to clear. I'm just like, you know, I don't know, man. So it's like you saw like from January, he was creeping back in. He's like it was rumors that he was about to sell to Saudi Arabia. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they
Yeah,
already they already
yeah,
have like a 10-year contract, for their own pay-per-views and stuff like that. So people don't really like that already. They already hot water. So imagine if the Arabians, the Saudi Arabians, if they own WWE. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it didn't happen, but I'm just saying. I wouldn't put it past Vince to make that deal, but I don't know. It's just we're in uncharted territory, and
how much of this do you think affects Stephanie leaving? Like, what do you think about that? Like Stephanie not being there, and
I think she knew what was coming. She knew. I think everybody pretty much knew about the allegations. They knew it was coming. It was going to drop on Vince's head. So that's why she made the announcement to step down. But then they called her back because Vince was stepping down. So they called her in just to be co-chairperson with Nick Khan and stuff, which I wasn't mad at. I mean, I thought if she was going to come back, give her the full position. Like, let her be the sole chairwoman. Let her inherit her dad's company. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you owe her that much. Like, she held it down. I feel like because we all thought it was gonna be Shane, right? But Shane, we thought it was gonna be Shane, but Shane, he's had ups and downs with his dad and everything over the years. Even though we did see him at WrestleMania, not gonna talk about. We're not gonna
yeah,
talk about that though.
no, no, no.
I hope Shane O'Mac gets better though. I hope he feels better though. I hope he gets better. But I feel like they owe Stephanie that much, and we finally got Triple H, as head of creative. Stephanie was running, the board and everything. She was the chairperson, but I just felt like something was off when they had Nick Khan as the co-chairperson. Like I just felt like something was off there, you know. But it's like whatever. As long as Triple H is in charge of creative, it's not hurting the product in any way. Cool. Just handle the business side, handle the marketing.
Yeah, I feel like she's
Yeah,
missed. I feel like she, behind the scenes brought a stability to everything there. And kind of like I felt like people could go to her. She was a good face when she talked about the company. She being a woman and a woman who's in charge and in business. I felt like she related to the product. She related to both what's going on with the men and the women. It was a good voice for that, and I felt like could understand. She also being, which I think it's not talked about, how great of a on camera talent she was. I feel like she understood on camera talent really well and the behind the scenes of it. So I feel like it's just someone who you know would care and would want to do right by this company, not there anymore. And that makes me scared now looking at this deal because, like, what? I don't know what Shane's involvement is. We know Stephanie's gone. You got Hunter. He's like the last little bit of hope I feel. It's like it's him and that's it. Because Vince, I feel like, is trying to just kind of make his mark and make his name. And I want to know if you saw this part too. That what they're reporting. Now I don't know. We haven't seen the well, maybe you saw the contract because I mean you're well connected, but I haven't seen the contract. But what I heard was that not if with the deal getting finalized, Vince would get millions of dollars on top of his multi-billion-dollar stake, but plus the right to make TV shows or movies about
Yeah,
himself.
I did
Which,
see that. I did see that. So yeah, if he gets fired for whatever reason like that, without any probable cause, like yeah, he gets a nice little settlement fee or severance fee or whatever like that, and he keeps the rights to his likeness and whatnot. So so pretty much we're pretty much stuck with Vince at this point until he dies or something or steps down again. So that's it is what it is.
which is like, is that him trying to be like, so he's going to rewrite his tale and clean up his like legacy or image? Like, remember there was going to be before the scandal, there was talks for years about like a Netflix like documentary, like a docu series about Vince, and then that got
Well,
scratched.
actually, I think it was a biopic. He was actually getting a movie.
Was it a
Yeah,
biopic? Okay.
yeah.
But that got
Yeah,
scratched.
well, yeah, it's done now. After the allegations, it got scrapped now. So, I
But now I feel like is it going to come back? But like the Vince McMahon touch.
probably not because I don't know if they really want to touch. Especially, I don't think they want to really mess with anybody that's tied to any sexual harassment type allegations. So especially in the climate that we're in now, post Me Too and all this stuff. Like I don't think they want to really mess with that. But you never know though.
It's just interesting that why ask for that as part of like that's unique for like CEOs or high executives to kind of put that in
Yeah.
there in a settlement deal.
It's just control, just him trying to get like one last finesse in, saying like it kind of reminds me of that John Wick movie. I think it might have been John Wick 2, where he had the villain dead to rights, but they were in the Continental, and the Continental supposed to be like Switzerland. Like you can't kill anybody there. And John
Right.
Wick said, "The hell with this! I'm going to shoot him anyway." And that's what got him in hot water. So basically, Vince is the villain in that John Wick movie. So it's like if you fire me or shoot me or whatever like that, I'm taking all this with me. I'm taking a big chunk of y'all receipts and stuff like that. So he basically put them in the bind with this one. So like I said, it's just him not letting go, trying to hold on, and what one last fu, I guess, whatever. So
Okay. So I'll give you the final word here. For the near future, what do you see for WWE? I mean, and you can throw in, it can be pro wrestling, so if you want to throw in AEW, but when you look at what's coming up for 2023, what do you see, Tim?
I'm hoping we just get good products all around, not just WWE but AEW as well, because it's good when we have alternatives. It's more than one company succeeding, and I see AEW. They're really cooking right now. They got Double or Nothing coming up. That's like their big event, like their WrestleMania. So I see they got some good things coming up. I know Impact, they're doing some things too. I don't really keep up with them anymore, but I hear a lot about what's going on down there too. I just want the product just to be good. That's all we can ask for. There's good stories, good matches, and hopefully get some fresh faces in the title picture. You know, I know Roman Reigns closing on 1,000 days as champion, so I can understand why they want to keep the titles on. So for that, I can get that. You know, we already been through the whole Cody thing, but I understand why because it's 1,000 days, and they're most likely not going to get another opportunity like this for maybe another 30 years, maybe ever. You know, it's not
Yeah.
like we in the territory days. You know, with Bruno Sammartino.
Right.
You know, I think he was champion for like what 7 years or something like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So they said, look, they said for Roman to break Bruno's record, he would have to hold the title until uh, Backlash, which would be like May or April of 2028. You know what I'm saying? Another 5 years. I don't think they're going to do that. And plus, by that time, Roman's going to have, you know, aspirations of going to Hollywood and do other things. So
Right.
I just want the product to be good. Hopefully, we get some new fresh faces and title picks to mix it up. Hopefully, they split the damn titles, you know, because they got the draft coming up in a couple weeks. So hopefully, they split the titles up. You know, we get some new blood in the title picture. Um, you know, I just want to see a good product all around, man.
I agree. I agree. Um, Let me ask you this: what do you think about someone who people call this woman the best wrestler in the world? What about Sasha Banks?
Sasha. Well, I'll tell you what, I haven't seen any of her recent matches from in Japan. I heard they have been bangers though. I heard that have been bangers, and they said like, you know, after seeing those matches, they're saying like now they understand why Sasha had to kind of like slow down her pace for the other women in WWE. You know what I'm saying? Not knocking those ladies. I mean, they doing what they can, and everybody's just doing what they're told according to the script. But like they said, like Sasha, like she's really been putting in some work over there in Japan. Like she's, you know, like she's really holding it down. She's holding her own, you know, in those matches. You know, and she hasn't really had a whole lot, but she's really like putting it down out there. So
Do you feel like, as far as over here, the wrestling world is really it's missing her?
I think so. Like you could tell you could tell there's definitely a void in the women's division in WWE too. Like ever since her and Naomi left, and that also left a bad taste in my mouth too. With them leaving, and it's like they really
A bad taste with them or bad taste with the company?
just a bad taste with the company because I just didn't like how they handled that. You know, it's like they made them seem like they was the villains and stuff, and you know, it was just like a whole lot of politics going on. Then they went on camera and had Michael Cole. I know Michael Cole was doing his job, but made it seem like you know they just left and just didn't care about the fans or anybody like that. But we know the story. We read the reports and everything like that. Like it was just bad creative, bad booking. Like and they wanted to really elevate the women's tag division. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't want to do that. They wanted them to job to the two champions at the time, which was I believe was Bianca and somebody else. I can't remember, but I just feel like they just could have did a better job with that. So, but yeah, they're definitely missing her. But I feel like Bianca and Rhea have definitely stepped up in her place. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, at least we have the EST and Rhea holding it down, but I do feel like they're missing Sasha, or should I say Mercedes. So, and you know, never say never. You know, like look, everybody eventually comes back. Like if Bret Hart can come back, you know, I feel like we might get a Sasha Banks return at some point. Maybe not now, but a few years down the road. You know, we'll see.
Think we'll get a Nia Jax? I mean, Nia Jax did come back for the Rumble, but do you think Nia will come back more? Or?
Just like I mean, I did hear a buddy of mine in this Facebook group I'm in. He said he met Nia at a con right after the Rumble, and he asked if she was coming back, if we want to see more of her, and she told him that you know they're still working out the details. So, and the Rumble was back in January. We in April now, so I don't know if they worked anything out or maybe they just went their separate ways. So I don't know what's going on with that. You know.
Or to get, I mean, to make a run, you got to get ring shape.
Yeah.
So there's ring shape for one event, and then there's ring shape to make a run. So maybe it's also part of it is working out details, but also she's got to get back in the ring
Yeah,
shape
and
too.
that's
Maybe,
yeah, and that's
maybe.
part of the reason why The Rock said he couldn't make it at WrestleMania this year because he wasn't in ring shape or whatever like that. Even though we know he works out like six days out the week, you know. But I get what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying. Like being in shape is a lot different than being in ring shape. You know what I'm saying? So like
Right.
he works out to look the part for the movies, but he has to also get in shape and be conditioned to get in that ring too. Because you gotta remember, like you get in the ring, you probably have like to have a 20-minute, 30-minute match. You gotta be well conditioned for that. You know what I'm saying? So I understand why he backed out, why he didn't do it.
No, absolutely, man. So Tim, thank you so much, man, for coming on and talking wrestling and talking WWE. Um, where can people? Because you know for the theme song, it's your song. So where can people find your music, man? Where can people find Tim Lewis?
Oh man, y'all can find me on Instagram at Tim Lewis Music Official. You know what I'm saying? You can find me on Twitter at Tim the Illest. That's Tim TIM underscore the THE underscore Illest ILLEST like Bianca Belair. You know. And also, I just dropped a new single, Georgetown Freestyle, which you heard on the intro. It's out now, streaming on all platforms, wherever you get your music, Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere. So please go check that out. You know what I'm saying? It's doing really solid right now, and I'm really proud of this joint. A little something for the ladies. Also, just something to represent my area where I'm from, the DMV, DC area as well. And we got the video on the way as well. So just stay tuned.
All right.
Follow me on my platforms. You'll get more info on that. But I appreciate you, Jeremy, for having me back. We made it through an episode, no technical difficulties. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
We
That's
was talking
right.
about the Montreal Screwjob in the last episode, and lo and behold, I get screwed out of the whole podcast. So I'm glad I made it through this whole episode.
Absolutely. I'm glad you did too, man. It's always a joy having you on. Always good talking with you, brother. So, and we're going to be talking more because there's a lot going on. We got a new Dark Side of the Ring season 4 coming next month. So I want to make sure I'm holding you accountable on air. Start going on Hulu, catching up. Be ready for May so we can have you on talking Dark Side of the Ring. Because me and Jose both love that
Okay.
show. I want to talk about it with you. Hey, surprise, surprise, you ain't watching it, so that's hurting me. So Dark Side of the Ring, get on that, everyone, and you too,
Oh, yeah,
Tim.
most
But
definitely. Just let me know when to be here, man. Just let me know.
all right, man. So for Tim Lewis, I'm Deremy Dove. Thank you guys for listening to Bigger Than the Game with Deremy and Jose. Take care.
Peace.